If you spend any time not under a rock within the past 5 years, you've probably heard a good bit about the modern loneliness epidemic, but especially the male loneliness epidemic. What with the rise of the internet, with new zoning laws making it harder to find places to meet up, and things like that, people are spending more time indoors, alone, and online than ever. This, pretty expectably, leads to a lot of young people, especially young men, not really knowing how to deal with social interaction and how to open up to people because they've never been forced to actually be open with anybody in real life for most of the life that they've lived. This is an extremely unhappy and demoralizing way to lead one's life, but it's very difficult to change. It takes a lot of getting out of your comfort zone to push yourself to go out there and find friends and actually talk to people. It's a lot easier to claim the discomfort that comes with being so alone and turn it into a part of your identity. You're not a dumb gym self. You're not a loser in his mother's basement. You're mysterious. Embracing being mysterious as an identity marker offers a fantasy that hits a lot of angles for young men. The first being that it allows them to take this loneliness that they feel and the solitude that's in a way they feel been forced on them by society, and that makes it much more difficult for them to find real relationships in real life and actually get to open up people without computer screens involved and turn it into part of their identity, making it cool, making it easier to choke down and deal with. Now, instead of causing a lot of anxious feelings, making them feel just bad in general, very unhappy, I mean, it does, but they can ignore it because it's cool. I'm not unhappy. I'm mysterious. A guy who might otherwise be considered just a dumb gym cell, who just goes to the gym, puts his AirPods in, puts his hoodie up, works out, walks home across the empty nighttime street, imagining that he's in an anime edit, but would otherwise simply be just a lonely, kind of sad, loserly individual, is now a cool, mysterious person. You know, it kind of comes from characters that we see in anime and in movies, the mysterious guy who's actually a kick-ass ninja or something like that. You can kind of imagine yourself being that kind of person, which makes it easier to deal with, makes the comfort zone more comfortable, and reduces the feeling of necessity to actually push yourself outside of that comfort zone in order to be a happy, worthwhile person, because you can convince yourself that you are cool and mysterious and whatever where you already are. But even these mysterious guys do want girlfriends. They do want relationships, and let's be honest, most of the time a lot of them also just kind of want sex. But they don't want to open up to people because that's very scary. You see, a lot of these guys who want to be mysterious, who actively see themselves as a mysterious person, who watch all of these myriad videos that you can go find on the rest of YouTube, how to be a mysterious man and get women obsessed with you and whatnot. A lot of these kinds of guys are MGTOW, or at least they've been hurt by women in the past. They're socially anxious. They're fairly insecure. So when they go out and they actually try and get a relationship, get sex, they don't want to open up to people because opening up to people necessitates that you're willing to be vulnerable with other people. And especially these days where if you're vulnerable with other people, that might get shared online for all you know. It's very, very scary for a lot of these guys, the rejection that they might experience if they're vulnerable with other people. They don't know what other people are going to do if they actually open up to them. Thus, if you're familiar with the Enneagram, if you're not, I highly recommend that you go research it because it's a very, very useful tool for understanding people in general. But if you're familiar with the Enneagram, you'll understand what I'm saying when I say that this fantasy is basically a Enneagram Type 8 fantasy. You can get what you want from people. You can get the sex and the attention and the validation that you want from women, supposedly, without actually having to open up, without actually having to be vulnerable and risk that other people might hurt you. If you don't know what the Enneagram is, Type 8 is essentially a type where their basic desire is to have security and autonomy. And their basic fear is that others will turn against them and use their vulnerability against them and essentially just do things to hurt them. And I think MGTOW, Red Pill, all of these kinds of men's movements, you know, while men's spaces being a thing is very, very important, a lot of these more sort of fringe weirdo movements, in my opinion, really do appeal to disgruntled Type 8 young men. And these young men are kind of preyed upon, given this false promise of you don't actually have to, in order to achieve success, overcome your insecurities. You don't have to take upon yourself and accept as an adult the risks that come with being vulnerable with people in order to build truly lasting and meaningful relationships. You can just get the things you want now and not risk anything and see yourself as a really cool, attractive, mysterious man at the same time. You can get all of the things that make you feel like a grown man and feel like an adult without actually having to push yourself to truly be an adult, even when it's boring and not quite as exciting as imagining yourself being in an anime edit as you walk home in the dark at 2 a.m. So it's very easy to see the multifarious reasons why this fantasy of being a mysterious guy is very attractive to a lot of young men, because they don't have to push themselves out of their comfort zone, and they don't have to deal with all of the insecurities that they built being mysterious and alone for a long time, and can instead accept these insecurities and accept the pain of being alone all the time as part of their identity. And they can feel like the cool anime characters and TV show characters that they've been watching since they were a kid, who are mysterious guys, except those guys actually have stuff going on for them, like they're actually kick-ass ninjas, and the guys watching this content and learning how to be mysterious aren't, but they can convince themselves that they are kick-ass ninjas, so to speak. However, this paradigm is not without its negative effects. For one thing, allowing yourself to simply sit in your insecurities and never overcome them and never push yourself out of your comfort zone to build lasting relationships is just gonna harm you in the long run. It's much easier to go on living in a very lonely life where you don't really open up to anybody truly if you accept it as part of your identity, but accepting it as part of your identity only entrenches it deeper to the point that it's a Herculean effort in order to overcome it when you really realize later down the line, because at some point life will force you to realize that that's just not a way to go on, and that honestly it's not that cool. Building a mysterious identity makes loneliness and insecurity so much easier to accept, but it should not be something that's easy for you to accept. You should not accept it as part of yourself and as part of your life. And it's very hard to put in the effort to force yourself to look it in the eye and not just accept it as part of who you are and actually force yourself to change, but it's absolutely necessary if you're going to have long-lasting and real relationships with people of either sex, men or women, that are actually going to keep you fulfilled throughout your life. Accepting it as part of your identity gives you the ultimate excuse, everyone's favorite excuse. It's impossible. I can't get in shape. I'm naturally genetically obese. I can't get good at math. I'm always going to get a D at math because I'm stupid. Everybody likes to say, it's impossible, I can never do it, blah, blah, blah. And accepting loneliness and insecurity and inability to open up to others as a part of a mysterious identity is that exact same thing. I can't change. I'm just too mysterious. And it gives you the perfect excuse to never actually force yourself out of your comfort zone. And one of the biggest negative effects that this whole paradigm has is when it comes to how men interact with women. Because first of all, this isn't very likely to attract that many women. Most people aren't going to open up to you if you're not willing to open up to them. I've noticed this in real life with guys and with girls. It's much easier to build relationships with people because I'm an incredibly open person. I'm an open book. I will tell anybody anything about myself and I don't feel any shame about it. For that reason, I really doubt the efficacy of being mysterious when it comes to attracting people in the first place. But even if you do attract people this way, let's say it is attractive, you're not going to attract healthy women. You're going to attract unhealthy, one-night stand kind of women. Because those are the kinds of women who are going to be into, mysterious, intense, that kind of thing. Those kind of thrill-seeking women who are looking for somebody wild and crazy who really, honestly, aren't that healthy and aren't that on top of their lives. Most healthy, well-adjusted, regular women, which is the majority of women, a lot of these MGTOW guys are very, women are all these conniving mavens who are trying to ruin your life. That's really not the case. Those normal, well-adjusted women are going to want a man who's just open and regular and genuine. It doesn't matter if he's not perfect. It doesn't matter if he's not crazy and wild and exciting. A regular, well-adjusted, healthy woman, the kind of woman that you're going to want to actually build a relationship, the kind of woman that you might want to actually marry and build a family with, is going to want a guy who's just a normal, genuine, open person who's willing to tell the truth about himself. Most people, men and women, really don't meet nearly enough people like that in their life, and they're really burning for it. At the end of the day, while I know it's really uncomfortable and difficult for a lot of guys to accept that you cannot go on living with mysteriousness and lonerhood and being the Sigma male who's not part of the pack and doesn't take anything from nobody and blah, 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 and just lives on his own all the time, it's hard to accept that that cannot be part of your identity forever. And that's just not a way that you can live your life and function as an adult and be a normal, healthy person. But ultimately, it's something that you're going to have to do if you ever want to have lasting, healthy relationships with men or women, if you ever want to truly be fulfilled and happy in life. Simply going to have to accept that it's, at the end of the day, it's just not as cool as you think it is.